Welcome to the Maria Sanchez Show on KDYTV.com. While we continue our education, if you will, on the propositions, we're hoping that you'll find these a little bit interesting in terms of maybe information that you might not have had, and or as Scott has referred to, websites that you might not have known in existence. We have Scott Harris with us. He's the principal, the entrepreneur, and the owner. Can I get
like
any more
this.
names?
You know, there's a few more we could throw in there.
Of Mustang Marketing, which is located in Westlake, Thousand Oaks?
Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks. And but Scott is here as the political wonk is what I like to describe you as, but I've got to think of something different. But anyway, his acumen for politics,
Expert genius, is there?
Perfect, is is pretty extraordinary, and that's why I've invited Scott to visit with us. And I want you to know how much I am grateful for the fact, because as a businessman, you know, the logistics, your time, travel, etc. Thank you.
You are no happier than my wife, who doesn't have to hear all of this now because I get to air it on your show. So Randy's very happy, you're very happy. It's a good combination for me.
It is a great combination, because when Mama's happy, everybody's happy.
You betcha. It's a big house, but there's nowhere to hide.
So number 25, Prop 25.
Yeah, Prop 25 is a fascinating one, and it's quite possible that Prop 25 could have the largest impact on the state of California.
Wow, that's a big statement.
Yeah, it's a big statement, and others will argue differently, by the way. It's not clear-cut. But in my view, this is the one that might have the largest impact in the state of California. I'll read you the shortened version, which is this. It changes the legislative vote requirement to pass the budget-related legislation from 2/3 to a simple majority, retains the 2/3 vote requirement for taxes. Now, what that means is this. We have to pass a budget every year in the state of California. The governor is responsible for delivering a budget on January 15th, a proposed budget to the legislature, which is our 80 state assembly people and our 40 state senators. We are required as a state, it is law, that we pass that budget by the 15th of June every year. Since 1980, we've actually accomplished that 5 times. We don't do it. Sacramento is very good at enacting and ignoring laws, which is one of the things I think that makes propositions and initiatives a little questionable. But that's one that they're really not comfortable sticking to, so they just don't. This year was the latest it's ever been. We just got the budget a couple of weeks ago. And the battle is that we require 2/3 approval to pass a budget in the state of California. Now, there's only 3 states in the nation that require that. The other 47 are a simple majority. So, go ahead.
Did they change their rules like we're trying to change ours?
Well, states have gone back and forth. So what happens is this. In the state of California, for a long time now, we have been a predominantly liberal or Democratic state. So the Democrats are in charge of Sacramento on a simple majority. The Republicans are a minority, but they're just enough, just barely enough to control that last 1/3 so that the budget cannot be passed without the approval of at least a couple of Republicans. So they're able to hold out. They're able to stop various things that they don't want to happen. They're able to make some things happen that they want to. It's just horse trading. They're just up there making backroom deals about our lives, and I think both parties are equally guilty of not having our lives in their best interest. But that being said, the Republicans have some leverage. Currently, it's Republicans. It could change in 10 years where Republicans become the minority. But right now, Democrats are the majority, so they have all the power if this drops down to 50%. If it drops down to 50%, the Democrats do not need any Republican involvement to pass a budget. Now, we are told in an effort to pass this that 2 things say, don't worry about it, it won't be as bad as you might fear. Number 1, there's still a 2/3 requirement to raise taxes. That would stay in place. The second is, if the budget is late, the legislature then forfeits their pay for whatever period this is late. It's a permanent forfeiture. The problem with that is it's easy to get around. All that you have to do is submit to the governor the silliest budget in the entire world. The governor has to veto it. Now you've taken that off the table and you can delay this thing as long as you want. So what it really does is it says, look, we just can't afford to wait 4, 5, 6 months for our budget anymore. We have to go to a simple majority, so whatever party is in power gets to make the decisions, and they get to do this. And so that becomes the great thing for the party in power. That becomes the dangerous thing for the party that's not in power. Shockingly, the Democrats who are in power support this, and the Republicans who are not in power don't. We absolutely know that if the roles were reversed, so would their positions be. This isn't a principled position. This is a power position. The Republicans don't have it. The Democrats do. The Republicans don't want to give it up. And the Democrats favor, what they say is, why should a tiny minority, barely 1/3 of Sacramento, be able to hold up the budget for 4 or 5 months? We could pass the budget we wanted, speaking as a Democrat, on June 15th without any issue, without any problem. So you're going to go back and forth on this. One of the things that this does do is it allows, through a simple majority, for fees to be raised. They're not going to call them taxes, they're going to call them fees. And so, for example, we talked last week about the new car fee, the $18 for the state parks. I think it's Prop 21. And we talked about that last week. That's not a tax. That would not require voter approval. You could simply put that fee in the budget, $18 a car.
It wouldn't require 2/3
It wouldn't require 2/3, it would just require half. So in this point right now, if the Democrats felt it was a good idea, that's what they could do and they could place that. Again, we go back to when Gray Davis was tossed out of office, there were two things that happened. The energy crisis and the car tax. And if you remember Governor Schwarzenegger, that was his big campaign thing, dump the car tax. That was his whole thing, blowing up cars and having a good time with that and doing all the theatrics. This is our way now back to get into that, and we won't need approval from the people to make it happen in the future. With Prop 25 passes, they can start to pass fees. So now instead of calling it taxes, they can put fees on businesses, on individuals, on cars, whatever they want to do.
But it sounds to me like this is a matter of verbiage. Because
yes, it's semantics.
So how are they able to change it from taxes to fees when we all know that it means the same thing?
We all know it means the same thing.
Taxes is 2/3, but fees are a simple majority.
Fees are simple majority through the budget.
But it's the same.
Well, yeah, you remember the term was a car tax, right? That's what we were going to pay. We register our car, I don't remember, $300-400 a car, whatever that number was. That was a car tax. But if you look at the bill at Prop 21, it's a fee now that we're paying on our cars. It's an $18 fee. It's not a tax. It's semantics, but it gets around the law. It circumvents what we, the people of California, asked them to do, which was to come to us and ask our approval and demand 2/3 approval before you raise taxes. So what they're doing now is they're circumventing this. So the people who are in favor say, look, 47 states already have it. You still need 2/3 to raise taxes. And this way, no longer can a small group, currently the Republicans, hold the state hostage for whatever they want. The people who are against it say you've now eliminated the second party. You've made them completely insignificant. There's a red herring to avoid the no pay legislation thing, because they can put up any budget they want, force the governor to veto it, and then they waive that. And fees can be raised, which is dangerous. If you look at this, again, our local group, Ventura County Economic Development Association, is against it. The California Chamber is against it. Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Group is against it. Newspapers, and this is the only one where the 18 newspapers that I mentioned earlier are split 9-9.
Wow.
9 are in favor, 9 are against. What happens is...
What, big city, little cities?
No, it's not. It's kind of, and it's not even definitely conservative liberal in the traditional... I know newspapers deny that they can be put in those categories, but really, the Orange County Register, does anyone think it's a liberal newspaper? So what they've done is they've split. Some of the newspapers are saying, you know what, we just have to get back to the majority rules in the state of California. Whether we agree with the majority or not, we need to make that happen. So that's part of it. And number two is, even if it's terrible and we break it, at least if we break it, maybe we'll change parties. Maybe something else will happen. But we just have to get to the point where we can make decisions again. The unions are unanimously in favor of it. The League of Women Voters is in favor of it, and the Democratic Party is in favor of it. Meg Whitman and the Libertarians are against it, and shockingly, again, not a lack of courage, but Jerry Brown has refused to take a position on a difficult choice.
And nobody's put his feet to the coals.
Not even close. I don't even think the coals are lit. I think they're focused on illegal immigrants and whores, and that's their two big thing. It's just, well, the last thing we'd want to do is discuss something that impacts 38 million people. But instead, I was offended by your statement, and I want a certified letter on when you knowingly hired your illegal immigrant housekeeper.
But you could also argue, and again, as in the spirit of being unpartisan or nonpartisan, pardon me, that if the unions are for it, that Jerry Brown would be for it, right?
I think that if the unions are for it and the Democratic Party is for it, it's not an unreasonable assumption to think that Jerry Brown would be for it.
I mean, just
putting there is no position that Jerry Brown has taken that runs counter to the unions.
Right.
Now, granted, there's no position that Meg Whitman's taken that's running counter to large businesses either. It's not a one-way street. Right. But we have to be realistic. There's a reason that Jerry Brown has not taken a position on this. And it's not because he doesn't know which way that he's going to vote. He knows which way he's going to vote. But he's just chosen, again, as he has done in 7 of 9 cases, to not take a position.
So that's Proposition 25. Why don't you quick mention the website again?
CaliforniaChoices.org. Fantastic website. I think it's really going to help a lot of people with their decision-making process.
And Scott Harris is visiting with us. We are yet to go to Prop 26, and then we're going to go back to Prop 23. You're watching KADYTV.com, The Maria Sanchez Show. We'll be right back.